4 weeks away from the start of training camp. I'm Kevin Bowen, back. Another edition of Kevin's Corner. Thursday morning, June 27th. We are recording, and yes, 4 weeks from today, Colts will be on the practice field at Grand Park, July 25th. The first training camp practice. First of 16 open sessions. Joey, we'll be up there, man. Dude, 4 weeks going to fly by.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
It feels like it was just 7 weeks, and we're like, oh, that's pretty much forever. And then all of a sudden, here we are, a month out.
Here we are. Yeah, less than a month out. It's pretty crazy that training camp will be here before you know it. And for the most part, things have been really quiet on the Colts front. The news items that we've had have been virtually none since the offseason program ended. I guess maybe Bobby Okereke signed his rookie contract, and that was really it. So that's if they can avoid the Robert Turbin Friday news dump that I think we got this time last year, it should be quiet when the month of July gets here. So, as we've mentioned on previous podcasts, we still have daily content on 1070thefan.com. So check the website out if you are having that itch right now for some Colts content. And as always, we will keep the weekly podcast coming until training camp.
And look at us, man. Look at you. Two this week. Pacers and Colts just coming at you both ways.
Needed to get Pacers in there before a very eventful week happens in the NBA starting, I guess, Sunday evening.
Sunday at 6.
Yeah, they've avoided the July 1 at midnight, which thankfully I appreciate that. But yes, we are sticking to our word of Colts podcast, at least one a week throughout the offseason. And when training camp gets here, we'll probably be more in the, one podcast every handful of days, or 1 to 2 podcasts a week. And if there are a bit more newsy items, we'll certainly have a bit more of a breaking news sort of podcast if that calls for it.
Can't wait, man. Really can't wait. I was thinking about it the other day, just how fun it is when you're up at Grand Park and just the excitement around there. So very much looking forward to it.
Same,
for sure. Today, going to hit on positions of strength for the Colts, positions of weakness, and then we're just going to open it up to Twitter questions. Cool. We'll start off there. You have 2 articles up on both of these now on 1070thefan.com. We'll start with the positions of strength, Kevin, and you really can't start without talking about the quarterbacks.
No, you cannot. And for those of you that have missed the articles, as you will hear over the next few minutes, there are a lot more positions of strength, Joey, than you would consider positions of weakness or positions. Weakness has such a negative connotation to it, but that's like the direct word you use when you talk strength or weakness. So it's more so like positions that need to prove themselves. But strength-wise, yes, start at quarterback. And, I was thinking long and hard about this. Besides the Saints, with Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater, and I guess the greatest gadget player in NFL history, Taysom Hill, who has a better quarterback combination in the league?
Can't think of many.
Yeah, and maybe I am just totally forgetting somebody, but when you think of what Andrew Luck showed last year, the comfort that Jacoby Brissett gives this football team, and an article that we did have on 1070thefan.com earlier this week kind of dove a little bit deeper into that. We know Chris Ballard loves Jacoby Brissett, and he makes him sleep easy at night and all those things about a general manager having a backup quarterback he can rely on. Frank Reich might be even more obsessed with him. And I think Frank Reich sees a little bit of himself in Jacoby Brissett of like, I was you in Buffalo. I won some games. Frank Reich won a lot more games on a much higher level than Jacoby Brissett has in the NFL. And yet Ralph Wilson, the Bills owner, went to Frank at that time and was like, look, there will be a point in your career where you will have an opportunity to go elsewhere. I would say Frank hung on in Buffalo a little bit longer than maybe Jacoby wants to do here in Indianapolis. I think Jacoby has just a crazy itch to compete for a starting job, as he should, as you'd expect any quarterback in the NFL to have, especially one that was a third-round pick. It's not like Jacoby Brissett was some 6th, 7th-round pick, undrafted guy. He was a third-rounder by New England back in 2016, 2017, something like that. So I think what you have, though, is you just have a safety net with Jacoby. And it might change in 8 months, but for now, the Colts have arguably the best quarterback duo in the NFL.
Moving on to tight end. There's a lot of names there.
A lot of names, Joey, and I think this is the biggest position of strength. And I think we also have to put strength and depth into two different categories. You can have depth. Like, I think corner has a lot of depth, and we're going to see that later on the list. But I don't know if I'd call it as big of a strength as I would call tight end. Like, I think tight end with Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron and Mo Alley Cox and even Ross Travis, I think it is the deepest and the strongest and the best position group on this team. I think you have great depth. I think you have varying skill sets. I think you have big play potential. And that's something we don't usually... There's probably a lot of teams in the NFL that don't say that about their tight end group. But I think there's legit big play ability out of your tight end group. And then the twofold of it is it's so important because Frank Reich uses it nonstop. It goes back to the debate we had, was it last podcast or maybe 2 ago, about I'm keeping 4 tight ends right now over 3 running backs. And a big part of that is because Frank Reich is much more inclined to use a 3rd tight end or even a 4th tight end in a weekly game plan than he is to use a 3rd running back or a 4th running back. So I think the tight end group has a lot of talent. I think the ceiling is very high on that bunch. And like I said, I think it's the best position group on the team.
For the longest time, you would have been called crazy to call the Colts offensive line group a position of strength, but here we are, and they're pretty solid up front.
Yeah, people would have unsubscribed to this podcast pretty quick for not being truthful. It's a strength. Now, it's a strength, Joey. It's not crazy deep. I'm still a little bit like, all right, if Anthony Costanzo goes down tomorrow,
yeah,
where are you turning? And hell, how many NFL teams sit there and be like, man, we got great depth on our offensive line? Like, no, that's not very realistic. Sure, there's some teams out there that probably do, but I still, if you have a couple injuries up front, you are scrambling a bit. You aren't scrambling as much as you were, 2-3 years ago, but I look at that starting 5 and I think it's tremendous. It's a ton of talent individually with 4 picks in the top 40 with Costanzo and Nelson and Kelly and Braden Smith and Mark Lewinsky, I think was a 4th rounder. I mean, that's pretty high when you're talking about interior offensive linemen. So, it goes back to probably the biggest news item this week in the NFL outside of what happens with Tyreek Hill and his meeting with the league is the Jonah Williams injury.
Oh, yeah.
You see a torn labrum for Cincinnati at a top 15 pick, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I mean, that's their starting left tackle for the next X amount of years. Like, those are the things, especially offensive line, probably left tackle more so than any position in the NFL outside of quarterback. If you lose your starting left tackle, the drop-off is probably more significant there. And the domino effect. Like, now they're saying, okay, got to move Cordy Glenn back over from left guard to left tackle. Like, there's just a bit of a interchangeable pieces are now being moved in several different directions.
Yeah.
And, I go back to the Costanzo thing. If he has the same sort of issue that he did last offseason, which I don't expect him to, then you're kind of scrambling a bit. But this starting 5, Joey, it's great. It should be right up there with anybody in the NFL. It continuity-wise, everyone's under contract past 2020 besides Costanzo, and I still think there's a chance that extension could get done before Week 1 starts. So yeah, this is a group that we usually, almost annually, we would have had this in the weakness, most approved category, and it is now a strength, and they proved it last year.
We'll stay up front and just flip to the other side of the ball with the D-line group.
I think this is more so in numbers, Joey. I think that there are some nice, talented pieces, but I don't know if we look at any of these guys and be like, that's a Pro Bowler. Justin Houston hasn't been to a Pro Bowl in, I want to say 4 or 5 years, like 2014. So I don't think we look at anyone up front as like, yeah, that's a top 4 player at his position, top 5 player. Whereas you would say that on the offensive line, you'd say that at quarterback, maybe not tight end, but Ebron was a Pro Bowler last year for you. I just think that the numbers of this group is why I have it as a strength, because it also falls in line with how the Colts treat this position. They want 7-8 guys playing 65% of the snaps max on a game-in, game-out basis. Fresh bodies. Rotate them in. And I think the other thing why I probably don't put this as much of a strength is the elite young talent in this group. Still some proven bodies that need to happen. Tyquan Lewis, just prove yourself. And look, I mean, Tyquan battled injuries last year, and I'm no fault to him, but him and Kamoko Turi, and if you're going to throw Ben Banogu into this group as well, those are 3 second-round picks that you would hope one day, several of them rise to be Pro Bowl caliber players.
All right, one final group here on the back end of the defense for positions of strength, and that's the cornerbacks.
Yeah, and again, I think this is more so in numbers. I think back, Joey, to this time last year, we probably had corner atop the list of, outside of offensive line, of a position group that has the most to prove. Like, linebacker was like, who the hell are you going to throw out there? Corner was like, okay, you have some bodies. It's like, is Pierre Desir good? Was he starting because your defense was horrible last year? Like, where's Quincy Wilson in year 2?
Losing Rashawn Melvin.
Yes, the whole Rashawn Melvin debate about should you have re-signed him? Is Kenny Moore just a special teams guy? You had all these questions, and now I just look at it, and I just think there's great depth there, which I think is paramount. Because any nick or bruise at a corner position, that gets exposed big time. And I scanned through a few of the Twitter questions, so I know we'll have a couple on the depth at corner we can get into a little bit more there. But this is a strength in numbers. Not to sound like I'm heading up the Golden State Warriors marketing department, but it really is. And I just remember going to training camp last year, and every single day when the starting defense would come out, the first position, because you're always scrambling when that starting defense, the starting offense comes out to write down all 11 numbers that are starting. I'd immediately go to corner every day. Because for the most part, you kind of had a general idea of what the other front 7 was going to look like. But corner, they rotated constantly. And now it's like, all right, you just have a little bit more of reassurance with the numbers at that group.
Is it too early to get a Kenny Moore jersey? I signed a 4-year extension, but do we need to wait and see maybe another year or see a guy?
No, I believe in Kenny Moore. I do. And I know like some people are, it's a minority group, but as you often hear on Twitter, the vocal minority usually speaks. Some people are like, was this extension too early?
Yeah.
He only has done it for 1 year, but I just go back to why you gave him it. And he is a tremendous pro and all of those things. So I think if you are a smaller fan, shorter on height, and you love great stories, rock the 2-3. And I mean, 2-3 is a great number.
True.
Speaking of that, you see Malik Hooker's picture on Instagram?
No. He switched his number?
No, but him and MJ.
Oh, he met Air Jordan, your airness.
He did. I want to say it was like overseas somewhere. It looked like Malik was overseas, but yeah.
He rocks the Jordan cleats during the games, so.
He looks good, Malik Hooker, in terms of those cleats.
Yeah.
Jumpman 23. MJ.
Hell yeah.
Someone commented, "Bri, you about 230 pounds. Boy, that'd be big."
Is he looking thick?
Thick. Jacoby Brissett says, "That's dope." Quincy Wilson says, "FYE." What is that?
For your entertainment and the Greenwood Park Mall.
Wow, that was really good by you. There's no way that means that. Darius Butler goes with the goat emoji, and Kenny Moore goes with snowflakes.
Cold.
Cold.
Yeah. Love breaking down. This is the summer, folks.
This is it, man.
4 weeks till training camp. You're breaking down Instagram
We're breaking
comments.
down the comments on the IG.
That's what happens. All right, let's switch over now. Again, maybe not positions of weakness, but positions with the most to prove, and you got to start with wide receiver.
You do. In a way, Joey, I look at this as offensive line from last year. And by that, I mean you invested so much into your O-line last offseason. And I still sit here today on June 27th, and I am pleasantly surprised, but definitely surprised, borderline shocked, that Chris Ballard invested in the wideout group as much as he did this year. That was always a debate I felt like we had in January and February and early March of he's been a part of drafts with, one receiver taken in the first 2 rounds in 15 years or however many years we went back. And is he really going to pay for a wideout on the open market when that group doesn't look very enticing at all? Mm-hmm. I mean, shit, he really paid. Devin Funchess, I think, did he get the most of any outside receiver?
Especially on a 1-year deal, too.
Yeah, maybe Tyrell Williams if you want to throw him at that outside wideout. But, I mean, in terms of, again, a player not as a slot, he got a whole lot of money. And then Paris Campbell, giving him or spending the sort of draft pick that you did. So this group has a lot to prove. Can they deliver? Because if Hilton gets hurt, it's unproven guys. And I know some people might be like, okay, Devin Funchess has proved himself. Devin Funchess, new system, new quarterback. We all think it's a system and a quarterback he should excel with, but that's a reality of the situation. Paris Campbell is a rookie. Chester Rogers is in a contract year. How will that kind of affect his mindset? Zach Pascal and Marcus Johnson, those guys have barely even seen an NFL field before last year. Obviously, Deion Kane coming off the ACL, never played in an NFL game. Reese Fountain has played, 2 snaps, 3 snaps in a meaningful NFL game. And hell, I think those are all kneel downs in the regular season. So those are the questions you have. So to me, it's probably this and safety, Joey. Wideout and safety, the 2 biggest positions to prove themselves this year.
You want to just hop forward now that you mentioned safety and go off that?
Yeah, and safety is similar to wideout, but I even think you have a little bit more invested at safety with your starting group. Malik Hooker, the 15th overall pick. It's his 3rd year in the league. He's finally healthy. Prove. You've given Clayton Geathers a second chance. And unfortunately, sometimes you feel bad when I say, like, Clayton Geathers, time to prove it, because I think a lot of that is injury-related, of course.
Yeah.
But
prove that you can stay healthy.
This is the NFL, availability is a part of surviving and thriving in this league. I feel like that's something that your teachers used to say. It's not survive, it's how you thrive.
The best ability is availability.
Yes. Yeah, that was a great Chuck Pagano. He used that a lot. There's just a lot of talent back there at safety, and there's some nice depth. And I feel like it's time for that group to prove themselves because look at the quarterbacks. Look at your schedule.
Yep.
If that safety group can deliver for you, this defense should be a top half defense in the NFL. And top half is pretty darn good considering the quarterbacks that you played this year.
And really, I mean, with the offense you're expecting to have on the other side for you, if you're in the top half of the defenses in the league,
don't need
probably
much.
Enough to get the job done.
Don't need much, man. It's so true. It's like it goes back to this whole debate about what the Pacers are trying to do. It's like if you just got elite guard play and moved one of your bigs and helped out your backcourt situation, you don't need much from the front court.
Yeah.
Miles Turner can be a rim protector and can hit an open jump shot or 2 on the offensive end.
12 and 8.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. 12 and 8 with 2.5 blocks per game.
There you go.
All day. But you need the guards to deliver. And that's the same thing for the Colts here in 2019. It's okay. You aren't going to put too much pressure on the safety group, but if they can handle their own, you expect the offense to do the heavy lifting.
Defensive line as a group is a position of strength, but individually, defensive tackle needs a little work for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Again, I like the numbers along the D-line, and I actually think the defensive tackle group has some good depth, but we've addressed this several times in the podcast. It's not the biggest group. Honestly, it's probably one of the thinner, and I mean that by freaking size, like actual mass, body weight. It's one of the thinner defensive tackle groups in the NFL. Now, it held up very well last year against the run, outside of that divisional round loss to Kansas City. But, against the Barkleys, against the Zeke, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, those guys, you did a pretty good job. I think you were top 10. You might have been 6th, I want to say, in rush defense, which is just tremendous. But can that group just withstand a 16-game schedule? Whereas Marcus Hunt and Danico Autry were, playing a decent amount of defensive end until Tyquan Lewis got healthy, and then that kind of changed some things, and you moved Al Woods to the bench, so then you slid those guys inside. Can they be full 16-game starters at defensive tackle? And can they be as effective as they were when they played a little bit all over your defensive line?
We'll finish up here with the positions most approved with a linebacker. They got the Maniac, got Anthony Walker, but still need a little bit more depth.
Correct. That is spot on, Joey. It's one of those things where I put this on the list just for worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. We saw last year when Walker, not even Leonard, was it, what was the game, Joey? Was it Miami maybe where Leonard
First quarter, yeah, everybody freaked out.
Was it first series or second series? Early.
Maybe it was very early.
Early in that game, he goes down, goes to the locker room. Everyone's thinking ACL, whatever. Serious knee injury. And Miami just carves up the Colts defense on that next drive. And Leonard comes back on the field. And just such a in the 60,000 inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Then Anthony Walker doesn't play against the Giants, and you really got torched in that game by the opposing offense. So the unproven depth behind those guys, because it's still very unproven, a bunch of 22, 23, 24-year-old guys, can they deliver if you need them? Because of Leonard and Walker, and, we've mentioned Bobby Okereke a lot, it's still a rookie that would be sliding into the starting lineup. Yes, it's a third-round pick, and you like a lot of things there, and it's better than your depth last year when Ahmad Thomas off your practice squad was starting a Week 16 game. Yes, there's more talented depth per se, but again, can you prove yourself? Because you don't need a whole lot of linebackers, but you need at least 2. And I think you've got 2. But do you have 3? Do you have 4? Do you have 5? Those are a few more questions.
Both of those articles up now on 1070thefan.com. So go get more in depth there from you, KB. Yeah. You want to do some Twitter questions?
Twitter time. Yep. Let's do it.
Okay, we'll start with Cody. He says, out of all the big Indiana sports teams, pro and college, rank them from most competent to least. I'll help. Colts, Pacers, Hoosiers, Boilermakers, Irish Bulldogs.
Oh, boy. Felger? This is Felger, I think. Well, I guess are we going football or basketball? That's,
Doesn't say. I'm guessing football since he's a football guy, but
yeah, Butler obviously
the Pacers,
no football program, or at least no D1 football program. Honestly, in basketball, IU's probably last in the last decade. Really. Butler's been to 2 national title games. Purdue's been to Elite Eight. Notre Dame's been to a couple Elite Eights. The Pacers have been to 2 Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah. In terms of football, I'd go Colts. Well, Notre Dame was just in the college football playoff. I guess I'd go Colts then Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Those 2 are probably 1 and 1A. And then, I'm sorry, I can't rank any other football programs in our state. That's a slap at Purdue. Purdue's starting to get better. But, yeah, until IU makes back-to-back bowl games, I can't even rank them, man.
Purdue definitely 3 in that, yeah.
Yeah.
IU definitely 4.
1A. You drop a little bit to 3, and then IU's probably I'd put Marion above them.
Wow, yeah. Marion, pretty competent since they started their program for sure. From Mike, says he has if questions.
Oh boy.
What if Luck doesn't miss a year of football? What is Pagano if gone? What if? Okay.
Yeah, he meant to say
What if Pagano is gone at the same time of Grigson? What if the Jets don't trade up? What if Doyle stays healthy all season? What if Josh McDaniels doesn't back out?
Boy, you could spend an hour answering these.
It's like Dave Damashek's NFL. I don't know if you've seen those before, but those are.
I feel like yesterday I saw Mike Florio and Chris Sims. They did the what if Josh McDaniels would have taken the Colts job. Now, they were pretty adamant that Sims especially, he did not think the Colts operation would be that much different. Which I think a lot of fans in this market would be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But I think when we get outside of this market and we don't have the disdain that we do for like the Patriots or just the general hatred for what Josh McDaniels did, I mean, the guy knows what he's doing from an offensive mind. The Patriots did win the Super Bowl. So let's start with Luck. If Luck doesn't miss a year of football, I mean, I don't know how much it should. Honestly, and Luck, I know has said this, I think it did a lot of good for him. And I know that sounds weird, but I do think it's hard until you're like have actually gone through the rehab and just the mental wear and tear of it all and have something taken away from you like, he obviously loves. But I do think it's done a lot of good for him. I still think Pagano's gone. Well, he says, what if Pagano's gone at the same time as Grigson? Does that mean Gruden? Does that mean Peyton?
I mean, that's the rumor that JMV always talks about, is that there was some serious conversations with John Gruden, and then it was confirmed about Peyton Manning
down in Houston, during that Texans playoff game that Gruden was calling. So, yeah, I don't know if it would be Chris Ballard. Yeah, I know Chris Ballard was pretty highly thought of, even the year before the Colts made that hire, but that's a great one. If the Jets don't trade up, I still think you get a pretty good package. Now, obviously, the Jets had some great second-round ammo for you that helped you out, but I still think you would trade back. But yeah, I mean, maybe you trade too far back. Maybe you don't, do you trade back to Buffalo? Buffalo was what? Were they 7 originally? 10 maybe?
7 or 8.
Yeah. What if Doyle stays healthy all season? That one I feel like is the one that doesn't really fit. I mean,
a couple more touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think it changes the season. You got ran off the field in Kansas City. I don't think Jack Doyle would have been a difference. The whole Josh McDaniels debate is good. I'm probably in the minority of thinking I do think Josh McDaniels would have done pretty well here offensively, but I also, over time, watching Frank Reich operate more and more, I think his cohesion with Chris Ballard is not something you would have had with Josh McDaniels. I think that would have been difficult to kind of formulate that.
How about if Luck doesn't miss a year of football? I don't think the resources would have been given to the offensive line like they have been.
That's fair. That's really fair. And then also you wouldn't have Quentin Nelson. There is a trickle-down effect with all of these questions, but especially that one. You aren't finishing 4-12 if Andrew Luck doesn't miss a year of football. So yeah, I think that's good. I was saying it probably more so, Joey, of like I think it's good for Andrew Luck's own individual self, like his health.
Oh, for sure.
But you're going on a different route about how the team has been built, and I totally agree with that as well.
All right, cool. Thanks, Mike. From Rob, after adding Rock Ya-Sin, there's been a discussion of more man coverage in the defensive scheme this year. How much man do they actually play this year, and how does this affect the linebacker core, and which linebackers are on the field for zone versus man coverage?
Oh, those are good questions, Rob. I think they definitely play a lot more man. They played the most zone of any team in the NFL last year. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it was north of 70%. So, yeah, I'd expect it to be shrunk a bit. I still think they're going to play more zone than man, but I think there will be opportunities to play more man. Maybe you see them kind of rise into the 20s in terms of how much zone that they play versus 32, or I guess They played the most zones. That'd be first in the league last year. How does this affect the linebacker core? I don't really think it does. I think it's Leonard and Okereke are your passing down linebackers, and that's what you go with. So, yeah, I don't think, there's definite linebackers for man versus zone. That might be something, to look at more in training camp, but I think those are your two athletic guys you want on the field.
From Reed, a Hollywood director is casting a buddy cop movie, and he says he wants to cast 2 Colts players to be the cops. Who are you recommending for the comedy?
I feel like we get some form of this question a lot. Like, who are the funny Colts in the locker room? And I wish I had better answers. I don't think there's just downright hilarious Hollywood people. I do think Luck as a cop would be pretty funny.
I mean, Luck doing pretty much anything is going to get some chuckles.
Yeah,
I think this one's pretty easy, in my mind.
Okay, let me go first.
Go.
Luck and Ryan Kelly.
Yeah.
Or maybe Ebron. What do you got?
I have Adam Vinatieri as a cagey old cop who's been around.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron is new on the force.
Yeah.
They clash very much. They're totally different stages of their life.
That's good. See, I was thinking fat guy and skinny guy. Your
right.
fat, stereotypical cop who tries to run down people, which obviously is totally unfair to Ryan Kelly. He's an NFL player. He's very athletic.
Yeah.
But, I'm thinking super bad. I guess both of them were pretty skinny. But, trying to imagine the cops running down,
For sure.
Jonah Hill and whatever.
Yeah. So we're both on the opposites thing, but it's they don't understand each other at first, and then they grow to be close, and at the end, they're pals.
And I think that's what you need. You just need 2 different personalities, 2 different, you're going with the age. You just need 2 guys that are at far ends of the spectrum.
Rodney, how would you rank in order of strength/depth the 8 position groups, excluding quarterbacks and kicker and punter, for the Colts? He says, I have O-line, tight end, running back, cornerback at 4, safeties at 5, linebackers, defensive line, and wide receiver. Thoughts?
Okay. So Rodney, he goes off what we were debating earlier, Joey, about I put strength in a different category than I put depth.
Right.
When I hear strength, I think of your best positions, your high-end talent. When I think of depth, I think of numbers. So strength, I would go with O-line, tight ends, safety, corner. Oh, boy.
Running back?
D-line, running back, receiver, linebacker.
Okay.
Linebacker might be a little too low. But I don't know. I just keep on going back to you have 2. Do you have 3 with Okereke? I know it's more of a depth thing. Okay, depth, I'd go with tight end, corner, trenches, D-line, O-line, receiver, safety, running back, linebacker.
Receiver up higher than I thought, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I do think. So I have them, I guess, if I look at it, I have them 2 spots higher in depth than I do strength. I think there's numbers there. I do. You're going to cut potentially a Pascal, Marcus Johnson, Reese Fountain.
Right.
So I do like some of the numbers there, but I don't have them as much high end because, we just don't know. We don't fully know on Paris Campbell and Deion Kane in terms of 2019 impact guys. And Devin Funchess is question mark would be too harsh to say, but there's still an unknown there.
I like this one from Drew Masterson. He asks, who is more likely to have a sophomore slump, Nelson or Leonard?
Ooh, Drew. Wow. Well, I don't think either of them will. I'd say Leonard. Quentin Nelson just seems like his floor is so damn high. There was a reason people were like, would you take Quentin Nelson in the top 3 of the draft?
Because at best, you're going to have one of the best to ever do it. At worst, you're going to have a consistent Pro Bowler.
Exactly. So I just think his floor is really high. I don't know. Maybe Maybe Cardi B got to him. Like Quentin Nelson is in he's just so physically imposing that like his brute strength would lend him to be a consistent Pro Bowler, like you said. Not to mention, well, he's got an unbelievable work ethic and all that stuff.
True.
Leonard, I don't even know why Leonard would fall off. Maybe he's getting too skinny. I don't know. Maybe teams are now more like, when we game plan for the Colts, our first priority is getting to the second level and getting a body on 53.
True.
But yeah, I don't expect either of them to have, expect them to be all pros again, maybe a little bit, up there, but I still have pretty high expectations for him.
So you'd say that Nelson definitely more likely to be an all-pro again than Leonard this year?
I think that's fair.
Yeah, okay. From Casey with a K, other than Andrew Luck, which Colts player has the best chance to ever win an MVP?
Casey with a K DM'd me last week, says he's not a NASCAR guy, doesn't like country music. Couldn't have been more wrong.
Nice.
On Casey with a K. He says, who has the best chance to be MVP not named Luck?
Yes, ever. Not just this year.
On the
ever.
Colts.
Yes.
Wow. All right, Joey, you're going to be shocked by this answer. I'm going to go with Marlon Mack.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, realistically, any answer is probably going to be pretty shocking,
right?
But I definitely was not going there.
Why I did that is this. JMV had me on last night and was kind of rattling off some MVP odds for guys around the league. Defensive players just don't win the MVP.
Yeah.
Like, I told them last night, the only way a defensive player could win MVP is Von Miller to have, like, literally probably 25 sacks. Break Strahan's record, shatter it, your team win 12 games. Like, Darius Leonard put up a stat line this league hasn't seen in 20 years. He wasn't on any MVP ballot. He didn't even win Defensive Player of the Year. Aaron Donald, who should have won it, won it. But, like, it's impossible in my mind for a defensive player to win it. So then you go to offense. Any receiver that puts up insane numbers, their quarterback is going to get votes. If T.Y. Hilton goes out and has an 1,800-yard season and catches 150 balls, Andrew Luck's going to win the MVP. Like, so that's why I go with Mack. Mack would, I don't believe Marlon Mack is ever going to win MVP.
Hey, they want to run the damn ball. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
this
the year. Question is my answer is music to the ears of Frank Reich.
Right, yeah.
But
he's Jack Nicholson meme, just nodding and smiling at that.
Yeah, exactly. Marlon Mack's agent as well is probably doing the same thing. But I hope people understand why I give that as my answer.
For sure.
It's like same thing with the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Manti Te'o's going to win the Heisman. No. Nice story. He's got a fake girlfriend. She died. All that's cool. Not really cool, but whatever. At the end of the day, offensive players win these awards.
Who's going to be up there for the Heisman this year?
Oh, I mean,
so Rondale Moore's 30-1. I might put down a little bit on him.
Tua.
Oh, that's right.
Homeboy from Clemson, Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, those two. Maybe the kid from Oregon, Justin Herbert. I don't know who the hot running back is. Is the Wisconsin kid back, Jonathan Taylor?
I think so.
Yeah,
he's a junior.
Yeah, so he'll have 220 against IU and get right up in the.
That's a solid.
What about Ian Book, my guy?
Ben Polizzi, 2.0. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame quarterback, man. If he can put together a 11-1 or 12-0 season,
right,
throw him in there.
So actually, there's some pretty good candidates.
Man, I can't wait for college football.
Yeah.
All right, from Corey, would you take the over or under on 3.5 Colts making the yearly NFL top 100 list this year?
3.5 Colts this year. Over, right? Nelson, Leonard, Hilton, Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think over. And I mean, maybe Ebron slides onto that list. So yeah, I would say over. Should be over. But I hate that damn list.
Yeah, you've kind of gave the inside scoop on that list, so makes it not as fun for sure. From Jonathan, off-season means golf season. Who is the best golfer on the roster? Who are you most confident would make an 8+ foot putt to win a match?
Oh, Vinny. Yeah.
Is he for sure the best one on the?
Well, I don't know if he's the best, but I know he's got ice water.
He's just the oldest.
Yeah, I mean,
clutch.
he make field goals to win the Super Bowl. I think he can hit an 8-foot putt, and I know he plays a good amount of golf. A lot of there's about a handful of those guys that belong to Broadmoor, over like on the west side, like Kelly and Joe Haig and Matthias Farley, Ebron.
That's such a like. Do you? I feel like weird saying. Do you belong to a golf course?
I don't. No, no. Certainly not the funds nor the time. Yeah, my wife would just kill me.
That's such a funny thing. It's such like a bottom tooth, like, hey, I belong to Broadmoor.
It's a very, very high end. Yeah, it is, man. Yeah, I go and play in some of these golf outings, and they're like, oh, yeah, where do you play at? I'm like, oh, wherever's cheapest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My backyard.
Right. Yeah. I'm disappointed Riverside's closing because usually it's like $25 to play 18 holes.
Right. Sam Shearer. Imagine the NFL does an entire personnel draft where all team employees are drafted again. From owners all the way down to players are eligible. Who would be the first Colts employee taken? Luck, Ballard, Irsay, Reich, etc.
Oh, my God. Is this the same guy that asks us these questions?
I think maybe.
Wow. I've never thought of it like that. I've never grouped owners, GMs.
All-out
coach.
NFL draft.
Well, what about Blue? What about Trey Mock, the mascot?
Blue's up there.
Did he win mascot of the year?
Yeah.
Come on now. Congrats.
Saw some snarky comments saying you should hang a banner for that. And I was like,
oh,
just
God.
Let it
Are
be.
people still on that?
Let it be what it is, man. Like,
I still think you go with Luck, man. I'd probably put owner second.
Really?
Yeah, I think you got to have an owner. I mean, an owner can screw up everything. An owner can fire the GM tomorrow. Hell, the owner could do anything. The owner could cut a quarterback tomorrow. But, or should I say governor? What does Draymond Green want us to say?
I believe that's only an NFL thing. I don't really know. I don't know.
I would say Luck in order. Luck, Irsay, Ballard, Reich.
Yeah.
I still think a quarterback is king, man.
Same. I think that maybe like Bill Belichick or maybe some trendy team would take Sean McVay.
Right, I would say other franchises, my answer would differ for sure.
I didn't know if he was saying like it's just like 1 to 32 or NFL draft in Nashville.
Colts specific. I mean, it depends all on the quarterback. If you're giving me Jameis Winston or are you giving me Andrew Luck? That's going to change my answer. So yeah. I have to have a person to know what I'm getting, not just that occupation, if you will.
From Mike, if you can see the Colts trading this season for one player to bring in, what position group are they most likely trading for? Bonus points if you have a player in mind.
If I could trade for anybody in the NFL, is that what he's going with?
No, just if they were to trade, what position group would they bring in?
DN, Von Miller. Maybe Aaron Donald. Am I answering that?
I think
right?
it might be like a realistic one though. I think he's saying like, what are the?
Yeah, I would say some sort of pass rusher. I don't have a player in mind. I can't. Yeah, I don't. Some sort of pass rusher. Just the more you have, the merrier. Sorry, I probably half-assed that. I don't know.
Hey, he said his bonus points, so it's all right.
I'm confused. What's that guy's name?
Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
C.W. Moran, most likely to have a kerfuffle at joint practices. Kenny Moore and Odell Beckham Jr. or any Browns wide receiver. Wait, okay, I misread this. Most likely to have a kerfuffle at joint practices. Kenny Moore / OBJ or any Browns wide receiver or Chad Kelly.
It's pretty hard for quarterbacks to get into it. Granted, Baker Mayfield. How about Baker? How about Kamoko Turi trying to sack Baker and just all hell breaks loose? Robert Griffin III did get into it last year.
I was going to say, yep.
At Ravens Colts joint practices. Yeah, I don't think Kenny Moore is much of a fighter. I go with Quincy Wilson. I don't think Quincy Wilson is much of a fighter. I think he might talk a little bit more. Yeah, let's go with OBJ and Quincy Wilson, a couple SEC guys getting into it.
From Jason Clark. Actually, this is from Cody Felger. I stole this idea from Colts Law, but name a Colts player that would not do as well on the average NFL team. Then tell me why. He says, my example is Eric Ebron, so you can't cop out and use him.
Ooh, this is interesting. Probably Nyheim Hines. Yeah, I think there are a lot of teams in the NFL that are more open and want to use a bit of a gadget sort of running back receiver, but I think the Colts are really, really into it. I would say Hines, maybe even like Mo Alley Cox. I think like a third tight end. I think like he's not letting me use Ebron. But like go a little bit deeper into the depth charts of where Frank Reich enjoys using players. Defensively, I guess you could throw really anybody in your front seven that you don't think could be a fit in a 3-4. So maybe some of those defensive tackles. You know, Marcus Hunt clearly did not do well in Cincinnati. Now he's flourished here in Indy. So he'd be another one.
From Jason Clark, how comfortable are you with the depth at the O-tackle positions, primarily left tackle? Is this season's backup left tackle currently on the roster?
Boy, that's a great question, Jason. I'm not comfortable at all. And like I mentioned earlier, there's probably 31, 2 teams that aren't very comfortable either. So that's a really good one, is the backup left tackle. I think it's on the roster just because it's really hard to find another left tackle that a team's going to part ways with at roster cut down. And, you know, is it Antonio Garcia when he comes back from the 4-game suspension? Is it Raven Clark in the final year of his rookie contract? Is it Joe Haig? Is it Jamarcus Webb? That'll be something that just needs to play out over the month of August.
From Chase, outside of Luck, Hilton, or Mack, who would you draft in fantasy this year?
Luck, Hilton, Mack off the board. I draft both the tight ends. I don't know how high I would. Tight end is always such a tough position to draft in fantasy. I would like Funchess maybe to be on my bench. Yeah, just because he is going to be targeted, and he's one injury away from being heavily targeted. But that's probably it. I don't think I'd draft Hines unless you're in some crazy, crazy deep league that has a PPR element to it. Same thing with Campbell. I don't think Campbell's going to get enough touches to merit a draft pick. But again, all depends on how deep your league is.
Drew Rush wants to know, how is Luck's calf?
Meaty. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we don't really get any sort of updates this time of year. Was it like this time last year where Chester Rogers had his little Insta story from Stanford?
Yep.
Working with Luck. Yeah, I don't envision much of an update on that anytime soon. But at the same time, I would guess Luck would want to start throwing if he hasn't already. You know, in more of live settings, you would think he'd want to do that sometime in the month of July to kind of ramp up. The first week of the offseason program, that's when you rest a bit, and then it's boom. It's time to get serious.
It's so funny last year breaking that down like it was the damn Zapruder film.
Dude, it was unbelievable.
I think the trajectory, it looks like it'd be from Luck about 6'4".
And how many yards? We're trying to guess how many yards in the field, trying to guess.
Was it an NFL ball?
The so velocity funny on it. Yeah.
Come a long way.
We have. Thank you, Andrew.
From Colts fan in Carolina. Just saw the movie Jungle with Daniel Radcliffe. Surprisingly good, by the way. Which Colt would you pick to go on a lengthy survival journey with you?
Have you seen it?
Didn't even know it was a movie.
You a movie theater guy?
Yes. I got Toy Story 4 on Sunday.
I got a buddy of mine. I won't expose him. He's afraid of movie theaters.
My sister is.
Really?
Yeah. Unless it's with a big group, like the whole family. Her and her fiance, they don't go on movie dates.
I don't think my wife and I have never been to the movies together.
It's a dying thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's so millennial of us, probably.
Yeah, I know.
We
just stream it.
Yeah, dude, I just get 20 minutes into movies and I'm asleep.
You're not a movie guy, are you?
No, I'm not a movie guy.
Man, I love movies.
My wife hates that. Will you watch a movie with me? If I say yes, it'll make her day. But then I'm like, shit, now I gotta fall through on my promise.
What's your favorite movie?
Rudy.
Cop out. Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, it is cop out.
Fair.
All right. Question was jungle. Who would I want to survive in the jungle with, or who? Yeah. Definitely Vinatieri. He's a hunter.
That's true.
Yeah, that's an easy answer.
No guns though.
Oh,
so let's say you get dropped in there.
I'm convinced Vinatieri can just find a bow and arrow out of a bark tree and kill somebody. Kill something. Not somebody.
Bow and arrow out of a bark tree. Say that 6 times fast.
Yeah, I know. And that's probably not even possible. But yeah, I'd go with Vinatieri. I mean, maybe even Leonard, man. I mean, he grew up on a farm. He seems like an outdoors guy that could survive. Obviously have some strength. Yeah, I'd say Vinny or Leonard. Al Woods would have been another good pick. He's a big outdoors guy.
Let's see. This is from Aaron. What are the chances that Sterling Shippey makes the Colts 53 over Grover Stewart? And with our talent and youth at corner, does Chris Milton make the roster?
Oh, my.
I didn't even know Sterling Shippey was a player.
Is this like Sterling Shippey's cousin? Say that name 6 times fast.
I know.
Minimal, very minimal. I think Grover Stewart is a guy that played good football for you last year, and he's your big wide body, and I think he's going to make this 53-man roster. We got another Milton question later, Joey, so I think we had one more Milton question, so let's save that one.
All right, from Brady, please explain, this is probably what you're talking about, please explain why Chris Milton is so valuable to this team. A lot of people don't seem to understand his value.
Yeah, Brady, I'm glad you asked this question because I am one that had Chris Milton on my 53-man roster over Jalen Collins and Nate Hairston when I did that cut down a couple weeks back. So how you have to look at it is this. Chris Milton on a game day is going to be probably your 5th corner. You only play 3 corners really in a defensive setting over the course of a game. I'm talking an entire game. No injuries happen. You're playing 3 corners. Obviously, that happens when you go to your nickel package. And then when you go to dime, which is 6 defensive backs, you don't bring a 4th corner on the field. You bring a 3rd safety on the field. So even your 4th corner on a game day, if you're going off the roster right now, let's say your top 4 corners are Kenny Moore, Pierre Desir, Rock Yassin, and then your 4th corner is Quincy Wilson. Quincy Wilson is not likely to see the field. Now, maybe he is your dime guy because he can play a little bit all over. But for the most part, the Colts like to have used Matthias Farley on the field as that extra defensive back when you go to a dime look. So in terms of a game day presence, your 5th corner really only has a presence on special teams. Only. And that's why I think Chris Milton is much more valuable as a gunner than some of those other corners. Now, maybe they can grow into being good gunners, but Chris Milton is a great gunner. Great. The Colts led the NFL last year in yards per punt return allowed, and Chris Milton is a big reason why. So I know we're getting really deep into the depths of a 53-man roster, but that's what you think about on a game day. You dress 46 guys. Your 5th corner is not needed so much to do defensive jobs. He's needed to do special teams jobs. That's why often sometimes you see a talented guy not dress. Like you might see, for example, Jalen Collins not dress in a game, but Chris Milton dress. Because Milton's going to give you the special teams help, whereas if you had a big injury one week at corner, Jalen Collins might then dress to play in the defensive game plan over the course of a game. Hope that makes sense.
From Jason, have you seen the Samuel Gold piece on Luck versus Wilson? If so, what are your thoughts?
It was too long. I was into the College World Series, so I didn't watch all of it. It's like 21 minutes. I scrolled to the end just to look at his rankings. Do you know what he's talking about at all, Joe?
No.
So basically, this dude on The Athletic took like a deep dive into comparing Luck versus Wilson and broke it down into like 6 categories of accuracy, ability to get out of the pocket, arm strength, all those things. While I'm talking, I'll try and pull it up. And rated them on a weighted scale. So, had like 30% weight for an. So everything was ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. and then would rank them based off a bit of weight. So you had like 30% for accuracy, maybe mobility was like 15%. Pulling it up right now. And Wilson won out. And so people are pissed.
Oh, boy.
This kind of goes back to our debate from last week, you know? Was it last week we had the...
I think, yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had the... So I can't really get internet in this room, but yeah, basically what it is they think Russell Wilson is it was a slightly better ranking. It wasn't like that much better by any means. So now I'm able to get it up here. I mean, I'm not like freaking out about it too much. I think what I said about it last week is it's literally, to me, it's like flipping a coin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both quarterbacks are asked to do different things. The longevity of Wilson's career would worry me. You know, how much longer can he do this is a fair question. But Andrew Luck is a really, really good quarterback, and so is Russell Wilson. And I think any franchise would be very open to having either of them. Some might be more inclined to have one over the other. If you have a bad offensive line, you probably want Russell Wilson. If you have a good offensive line and you're looking for more longevity, you probably want Andrew Luck. I've never looked at Luck as having like crazy arm strength. Pretty accurate, but his accuracy percentages are not very high. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with
another week, another Luck Wilson debate.
Crazy. Yeah. They could be mutually exclusive, you know.
Just wait till the Colts and Seahawks in the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, boy. From Ryan, in the spirit of Irsay's big guitar purchase last week, which was awesome, what's one sports/rock/other memorabilia item you'd love to own?
Oh, boy. Give me Tiger Woods' green jacket from the Masters. That's a lot.
I was going to say, I mean, could you settle for like the ball that he sink the putt with to clinch? Or
I could, but I'm shooting for the stars.
Yeah, I hear you.
Did I tell you Irsay got a hockey rink at his house?
He has a hockey rink at his house?
Built a hockey rink. I want to say someone was telling me for like his grandson's travel team.
Wow. Thanks, Grandpa.
You know, can't get ice time at Carmel Ice Stadium, but hey, here's your new hockey rink.
That's awesome.
That's quite the purchase.
To be so lucky.
Yeah.
You know.
How about you? What would you go with?
Oh, off the top of my head, one of three things. One,
boy, that's a quick three things that come to your head.
Anthony Rizzo's game-worn jersey from Game 7 of the World Series.
Oh, boy.
To frame and be signed to Joey, the best Cubs fan ever. The ball that he caught that clinched the World Series. Or I think Happy Gilmore's customized putter that has the hockey head on it.
I like it.
I'd get that framed too.
Yeah.
One of those.
I could get behind that for sure.
Yeah.
It's so unrealistic.
Yeah, but it's fun to dream. Right. Dream that Jim Irsay life.
Yeah, that we have that bank account.
From Tim McKay, Ballard said the best three linebackers will play. Having said that, if Okereke, Leonard, and Walker are the three best and defense wants to be fast, is there a possibility of putting Walker at Sam? That will leave Okereke on the field with Leonard on third down, which is probably best. Yeah, I would say you aren't going to have many third downs with three linebackers on the field. And I don't know how many times you're going to have three linebackers on the field, period. I think that's a question. I get the question that's being asked, but I also... Is Bobby Okereke one of your three best linebackers on rundowns? Like, that's a fair question to have. Or is it Matthew Adams? You'd rather have him at the Sam and then Walker at the Mike. So, yeah, that is... I still am just not sold on how often they're going to play a 4-3, three-linebacker-based defense. From Brian, when the Colts extended Kenny Moore, many reported that he became the highest-paid slot corner in the league. However, I keep hearing you list him as the starter opposite Pierre Desir. Can you explain? Is there still a spot open for a starting corner? Okay. Kenny Moore
when you play a base defense, so like I just said, when you go to a 4-3 base defense with 2 corners and 2 safeties, Kenny Moore is a starter opposite Pierre Desir. He starts outside for you, and then when you bring a nickel on the field, Kenny Moore slides into the slot and plays that corner. And last year, Quincy Wilson then became your outside corner when you had 3 of them on the field. Basically what it means is this: Kenny Moore's really effing valuable. Like, really. A lot of times that niche corner that plays nickel can't play outside. Kenny Moore can do both. So he's extremely, extremely valuable, and that's why he makes the amount of money that he does.
From Alex, how many...
I feel like I forgot part of that question. Read me that question again.
Let's see. You said, can you explain, is there still a spot open for a starting corner?
Okay, that was the other thing. There is not a spot open, in my opinion, for a starting corner. I think it's Pierre Desir and Kenny Moore. Where there is a spot open is when you go to nickel, and I think right now it would be Rock Yassin competing with Quincy Wilson for the starting job.
From Alex, how many years of prime play do you think Luck has left? Do you see him being able to follow the Brady model and adjust his game as he ages to be able to maximize his longevity?
Ooh, it's a good question. I think he's got a long time. He'll be 30 in September.
Sounds right.
I could see him playing another decade. I don't know. Once you get into your 40s, just what? I mean, who knows? Andrew Luck is if he wins a couple Super Bowls and gets the age of 40, I could see Andrew Luck probably wanting to do some other things with his life.
True.
I know he loves football, but he also is a brilliant mind. I think he certainly took steps last year to altering his game a bit and how much he is susceptible to hits and things like that, for sure. So yeah, but I mean, Brady's in rarefied air, man. And Brady is a loser. Brady is a robot. Brady's only obsessed with football.
Yep.
So, I think he's got at least another decade though. Luck. I mean, Luck loves the game. Loves it. Brady's just, I don't know what else Brady would do.
Yeah, he seems to be, we saw a picture yesterday with Manning when they were golfing. He seems to be venturing a little bit in some other type of things, but yeah, he's made it pretty clear that
once late July comes, woo,
right,
he's locked in.
From Caleb Reed, how do we curb expectations, not only for the first-year guys who hit it big, but for this year's draft class who will have higher expectations based off the last couple of drafts? Along with some of the vets, Ebron, for example, coming off of a fantastic year, his numbers may dip.
I think you curb it. Just be a realist, people.
Right.
I mean, you had 2 All-Pros last year in the rookie class. First time any NFL team has done that in, 60 years, 50-some years? Like, just be realistic. Eric Ebron, Water probably is going to find his level a little bit with touchdown numbers.
Just a bit.
And you have better skill players around him. So, I've said this about expectations. Individually, I think it's just, okay, be realistic. Team-wise, fully embrace it. Don't hide from it. Because very soon, if not this year, those expectations are going to be the norm for the Indianapolis Colts. And if you can't embrace them and you can't thrive in them and you can't really just absorb that and be able to maintain yourself as a constant winner, this is not going to be a long-term successful program. It's not. And for the most part, certainly from a regular season standpoint, the 2000 Colts were able to do it. And the Patriots have obviously been able to do it, unlike any other franchise in this league's history. So embrace the team. Be realistic with individual-wise.
From Laura, any news on Quincy Wilson's thumb injury? Is he a full go for training camp?
I assume he'll be good. Maybe you just bandage that up, wrap it up. He had a pretty significant brace. I don't know if you call it brace, heavily wrapped.
He's got a thumb.
It's a thumb. He's got a thumb. We got 2 thumbs. A lot of us have 2 thumbs. Yeah, I'd expect him to be out there day one.
This is from Jackson Wheaton. With so many corners and wide receivers on the roster, who would make the most sense to trade in terms of return from the trade? Jalen Collins, Quincy Wilson, Nate Hairston, Chester Rogers, Reese Fountain, George Odom. Not all will make the team.
I'd say definitely Wilson. In terms of the biggest return you're going to get, he's a former second-round pick. He's still very young. He's shown to do some good in the NFL. And, yeah, I would say by far Wilson is going to get you the best return compared to any of those guys. A lot of those guys, I don't even know if you're getting a draft pick, man.
He seems like a kind of guy to, not speculating that trade's happening, but if it were, that maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. Like one of those guys that's like,
right.
He was kind of and then, he changed scenes and he popped.
On a much lesser scale, Vontae Davis sort of thing.
Sure.
I do think Quincy Wilson can be successful here, but when you look at the depth at corner, like sooner or later, Rock Ya-Sin is going to be a full-time starter for you. And Pierre Desir and Kenny Moore are both under contract for at least 3 more years.
Joe wants to know what the biggest tweaks to the offensive and defensive schemes you see coming in 2019.
Defensively, a little bit more man. I think trying to get home with 4 rushers as best as possible, but do we see a little bit more just creativity with your blitz packages when you go there? Offensively, I expect more read option. I don't think the quantity of rushing attempts will go up that much. Maybe a little bit. At the end of the day, Andrew Luck's right arm is what's going to lead you pretty far. So I think you are going to throw the football a decent amount.
Bryce asks, what Colts draft pick will make the Pro Bowl first?
Oh, my. 2019?
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. Man, that's good. I guess I'll go with Rock. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but yeah, I'll go with Rock. I don't know. Campbell's got a long way to go just to get just to be in a position to where maybe he's your number 2 wideout as early as next year. Maybe that changes. Maybe T.Y. Hilton, whatever. Maybe he retires early or something crazy. I don't know. But I just don't know if he'll get the amount of. I think receivers so deep in the AFC. Wasn't T.Y. Hilton was not first a Pro Bowler. I think he was a Pro Bowl alternate that got in the game, but elected not to play. Yeah, I'll go with Rock.
I don't know why I just have this weird feeling that Campbell's going to pop off for 7 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, but 7's not getting you the Pro Bowl.
I know, but it just.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's the craziest thought in the world. It's going to have to be like Ebron, though, where, he's on the field, he's getting the football. Mm-hmm. I just don't think he's going to be playing that much to where he's going to consistently have a 60-catch season or something like that.
Gregory says, Kevin, can you please enlighten me on Jonathan Williams? What is with the Ballard crush there, and what's his role? I feel like I literally know nothing on this guy. How does he fit in, and more importantly, do we ever see him play?
Okay, Jonathan Williams, 5th-round pick out of Ole Miss a few years back. I want to say by Buffalo maybe. Was in New Orleans. New Orleans loved him. New Orleans thought that he was going to be helping them out. I think Mark Ingram was suspended for the first few games of last year, so I think they thought he was going to be a guy that could really help them out with Alvin Kamara, but they pretty much just had him on their practice squad, and then the Colts, they eventually, I think, had to waive him. Maybe he was on their 53, and they eventually had to waive him, and the Colts claimed him. I think he's more of a power, more of an in-between-the-tackle sort of guy. His role goes back to what we've debated about running back. What is your third running back? That's the bigger question. And I think he is competing with Spencer Ware and Jordan Wilkins to be that third running back. But unless an injury happens to Marlon Mack, I just don't think there's a whole lot there.
From Ryan Taylor, will the Colts work Marvell Tell at safety to create position flexibility within the DBs? For him to make the team, he's going to have to play 5 positions plus special teams with the depth at corner.
I think it's a good question. I don't know if you have that much pressure on him right away to play 5 positions. I think he will be a frequent healthy scratch and a frequent special teamer when he does dress. I just don't see a role for him in the defense this year, but I think you are spot on there, whoever asked that question. in saying that his versatility will be counted on. And I don't know if he plays some outright safety, but maybe like some dime linebacker looks.
That was Ryan Taylor who asked that.
Nice.
A couple more here, Kevin. This one, I like this one. This is from Tristan. Which Colt would have the best performance in a presidential debate? Very topical.
Very topical. Wow. Damn. You know who I think could be pretty good in presidential debate is Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. Could see that.
He's got a good look to him. He will say enough, but won't say too much. He can kind of be a bit of a I don't take anyone's shit sort of thing. And I think that's, you kind of want to see that come across in a candidate. I mean, Vinatieri would probably be the easy answer.
Does Chris Ballard count?
Ooh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What about Nyheim Hines?
Ooh, I like that. Nyheim Hines would be good as well. Luck's too smart.
He would just talk.
He's not relatable enough.
He would just talk around quite like people wouldn't be able to follow.
Yeah, is he going to go in there with, okay, these are the 2 or 3 things on my agenda that I'm going to get done as president of the United States? His dad was in politics, though. But no, I'm not going with Luck. Hines is a good one. Anthony Walker. I like Brissett, though. I'm trying to think of some of those offensive linemen.
If Mike Mitchell is still around, probably him.
He'd stir something up.
He's very direct.
Yeah, he'd get into it tonight with Biden and Sanders, and yeah. That's a good one.
So you're sticking with
I'll go with Jacoby.
Brissett?
Yeah.
Okay. From I-74 football, which is more likely? Nyheim Hines has 1,000 yards from scrimmage this season, or a Colts wide receiver not named T.Y. Hilton gets 1,000 yards receiving. And which wide receiver would that most likely be?
Oh, that's a good question. I will go with the wideout, though, and I will say Funchess. It would take a huge year. It'd probably take an injury to Hilton and/or some of your tight ends. But 1,000 yards from scrimmage is a lot. I guess if Marlon Mack goes down, maybe Hines would get that. But, there are teams that have a couple 1,000-yard receivers. So I feel like Pittsburgh had that. Did Pittsburgh not have that with Juju and AB?
Feel like that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they did.
They were clouded in a whole nother mess, so they kind of got lost.
Yeah, it definitely got lost in the shuffle. So, yeah. I'll go with Funchess.
That's all I got.
All right, I got a couple over here real quick. Cody, on a scale of 1 to Daniel Adongo, how much of a project is Ben Banogu at the end? I don't think he's anywhere near Adongo. So I guess 1 would be he's not a project at all, and Daniel Adongo would be 10. I'd say about a 4. I don't think he's more of a project than Kamoko Ture, but there's some definitely there's some development needed. Nick, do you think the Colts overvalue Jacoby Brissett? I think it's a good question, Nick. I think, honestly, maybe a little bit, but I don't think the NFL values him very highly either, or as much as maybe we value him here locally, and clearly the Colts do. I don't think, the trade offers that they've had for Jacoby Brissett aren't the most significant things in the world, and they aren't the most abundant either. So, I think you have to keep that in mind. And then last one from Greg. How much weight do you think Luck has as far as roster decisions, as in what happens if he goes to Ballard and says he wants Ebron re-signed? Boy, that is a great, great question, Greg. I could never see Andrew Luck doing that, but I don't know, Joey. What do you think? I feel like if Andrew Luck came to me and I was Chris Ballard and was like, I want Eric Ebron re-signed, I'd have to re-sign him.
Yeah, I just don't.
I know it's a dangerous slope to go down.
But I don't know. I guess I just don't see Andrew Luck doing that.
No, but let's just play hypothetical here. It's June 27th.
Yeah,
it's hypothetical season.
It's happy wife, happy life. You got to make your quarterback happy.
I think it's a good way to put it.
You know.
Again, never could see Luck doing it, but that would resonate with me, especially because it is luck. Like, if he came to me, like...
True. He's not going to mince words. It's not going to happen lightly.
That means something. So, that's a good one. That was a lot of Twitter questions.
It was, but they were really good and had some fun ones in there as well.
Cool. All right, 4th of July is next week. Maybe like a Tuesday? Does that work for you?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's basically fake day on Wednesday for everybody.
Figure it out.
And then,
yeah, and I kind of want to, if people are traveling Wednesday, I kind of want to get it to them, Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon. So, yeah, maybe we'll come at you Tuesday afternoon. And then, man, like I said, 4 weeks away. Crazy. Absurd. You got to plug your plug your party.
Oh, thanks,
Saturday.
man. Yeah, all right. Saturday, 12 o'clock. High noon, weather's looking great, knocking on wood big time. It's not an outdoor party by any means.
You're gonna want to be in the AC, honestly.
Yeah, it could be warm. After 6, South Meridian, right next to Brothers, the first floor of Taps and Dolls. The doors should be open there, so you'd be able to walk right in. 21 plus, obviously. No cover, $2 Bud Light, $3 mixed drinks. It's the Espresso FOMO party, and we're just having a party, man. We're just having some fun and enjoying the summertime. And so if you don't got anything going on Saturday, feel free to swing by and hang out.
And it'll be a great time. I wish I will be in Cincy watching your Cubs take on my Reds.
Yep.
I wish I could be there. I think it'll definitely be a great time. Some pictures I've seen from the previous parties you guys have had there have been terrific.
Yeah, pretty good turnout, so we're excited. I don't know if maybe some people followed Indianaland shirts from the famous Indianaland video have been made. There will be a limited number available as the doors open, so get there to get that shirt if you want one. And, yeah, man, should be a good time.
If you have any questions, hit up Joey on Twitter. He's got all the info there, probably on his Twitter page already. Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you to listening to Kevin. Thank you for constant listening to Kevin's Corner podcast, and we'll be back at you next week before July 4th.